Actually turn on my record settings. All right, it seems to be recording now. Okay. So for those of you that have been through this rodeo with us before, we like to start on time, but in order for me to start on time, I need to hear a couple things out of you guys from the weekend. Somebody share something positive. Share me some ahas. Did you guys get out? Did you work with clients? Did you do some family things? Those of us in Loudon, at least, I know school's starting today, so I don't know if that's a positive or a negative. It's gonna be a little bit of chaos in my house to try to coordinate working with you all and working with my children. So we'll see how that goes. Tell me what's going on with you guys. What's shaking?
So Friday and Saturday, Saturday and Sunday, I didn't do much work-wise. I did a lot of work inside. I did admin stuff, emailing and things like that. But Thursday and Friday, I had showings. Thursday, I had virtual showings, and Friday, my client physically came with me. And we just took precautions. We wore gloves and booties, and I had Lysol wipes and sanitizer. But yeah, that was the gist of the weekend, the end of the week and the weekend.
Right, we got to be, be safe, smart, and informed when we're going out and doing those type of things. And respectful of the houses that we're going into and the people that are allowing us to come in. Right, the last thing we want to do is end up as another state that's on complete total lockdown where they take our businesses away from us. Right.
Right.
So good job and props to you for being prepared accordingly.
Thank you.
Who else has got something? Morning, Terry.
I was gonna say, we ended up having a listing go live on Sunday. We have a showing today. We're writing a contract as well on another property today. And we had leads generated overnight off of campaigns. So
that's great. Yeah, I mean the sales are still popping, right? You're getting listings, you're getting sales right away. Like there's still pent up demand, which is kind of nuts when you think about it, right? Like we knew coming into this before the virus issue that we had no inventory. Like it was crazy. So it was interesting to see how the numbers might change, how showings would interact. I'm hearing the exact things that you guys are talking about. I was like, I know somebody that put a listing active on Friday. They were under contract on Saturday. And I know that at least 3 or 4 other people in our offices as well. So business is still happening. It's just being prepared to do business. And that's where a lot of the training that we've been doing, not just us here in command, but the other agents sharing how they're doing the best practices of how to either do a virtual showing, right, or writing contracts, or if you have to go into a property, what that looks like, about utilizing booties and wipes and gloves and not touching door handles and knobs and lights and all of those important things that are going on around us. So with that, on today's class, I think it's appropriate that today we're going to talk about Docusign. We're going to talk about what that looks like. We'll talk about contracts, libraries, sharing. Now, be mindful that the way that we do things in my cluster of market centers may be a little bit different how you guys do things, but we're going to talk on the overall picture what that looks like. You'll see some things online that might drive questions for how you do things in your office. And what I will always refer you back to if it comes to a process related question, right, that you go back to your MCA, your compliance broker, and your leadership. If things look a little bit different about how we're doing and loading documents on our side of things versus how you're doing things or what documents we're using between my office and your office. Is that fair?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. And the cool thing is on Wednesday, we're going to actually have a compliance class too. So I'm going to bring on Shannon Lauderstein, who's our compliance broker for our 3 market centers. And we brought her on here before, but she's a wealth of knowledge about how to handle contracts and handle compliance within Docusign. So she's going to come in and spend some time with us on Wednesday, I think. So I think you guys will find that very helpful. I'm getting laughing there. Elisa, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I just got a message that says I'm having a trip to Puerto backyard because I'm getting tired of the living room.
Very good. All right. Morning, Daniela, Murray, Terry, Murray, Ted, hey, Katie, Alicia, Shayla, everybody else that's not Canada.
Hello, everybody.
I don't shout out to people who are hiding behind their videos. So the rest of you, I love you anyways. All right. So we're going to end. We're going to get jumping. Everybody sees my screen, sees my face. Is that accurate?
I see your face. Yeah.
All right. So you guys should be sharing my screen now. minimize this. You guys see my screen okay?
Hey, David, I just have a column of people's videos. How do I get yours to be the main view?
So in your camera, you should be able to click on speaker view on your upper right-hand side. And then
Got it. Thank you.
see my, now I'm gonna be sharing my screen. And so you guys should all see this now. Everybody see my command screen okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we're recording, we got sound, we got video, we can see each other smiling faces. There'll be people monitoring chat and answering questions if necessary. Obviously, like always, I'll pause and try to make sure if I'm missing anything that we're getting everything addressed in there as well. All right, so happy Monday, everybody. Today we are talking about all things Docusign as best as I can for you all. I do want to make sure that I have, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, but if you do have a question that's urgent, or when I do open the mic, feel free to open up your mic and ask a question. That'll be fine. But I just wanted to mute everybody to minimize on the background noise. All right, so what I did here was I have an opportunity. So let me just come all the way back out. I like to start from the beginning. I went into created a contact that I'm going to be working on a buyer opportunity for in today's session. My network has been at a little bit of a crawl lately in my house, probably very similar to a lot of you guys as well. The bandwidth around the country has gone through usage roof, but we'll make do. We will certainly make do. All right, so go to contacts. And I will go to my test contact that I'll be utilizing for today. Maybe. There we go. All right. Not getting a whole lot of support there. Let's switch over to this. All right, there's my contact. So from the contact record, if I go to opportunities, because I've already created one, but you can always create it by going through the steps here, which we did in our opportunity training class. So I'm going to open up my trainer here. And when you land on, you'll land on the details page. In order for us to interact with our room, right, within Docusign, I've got to go to documents. Now it's important to know that in order for the room and for Docusign to communicate with each other, for me to be able to transfer data over, for me to be able to pull documents from Docusign, the very first time I create a room, I have to engage here by starting a transaction. If I go directly to Docusign, okay, and I create a room in there, there's no way for me to go back and reverse engineer and connect those two together. When you do click on Docusign the first time, it will ask you to log in. Okay, so we go. Now I've connected the opportunity and the room together. And when you log in to Docusign for the first time for that room, it's going to land on the documents page. And
David?
Yeah.
We're only on the contacts page, several of us.
Yes, I think the screen got frozen or something.
I'm not seeing anything except for the contact also.
Okay. Let me take a look at my share button here.
Yeah, I think we need to start over.
Okay, hold on. We'll make that work for y'all. I think that happened when I switched out. I had a lock screen and then I went into, let's try that now. You guys see that now? Everybody seeing the screen again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
training
Yes.
buyer.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So I will back up a couple of seconds here and I will go back into command. So from within command, from the opportunities, we went into the training buyer. That landed us on this details page for the opportunity. In order to get to Docusign, I have to go into documents. Now, this now says go to a transaction over here on the right-hand side. But the first time you go to integrate a opportunity and a room together, it'll say start a transaction instead of go to a transaction. So you've got to hit that start a transaction the first time so Docusign and your opportunity talk to each other. And once you click on that and you log into your Docusign account, because it'll ask you for your login and password for Docusign, okay, you will land on this screen under Documents. Now, what I want you to do and get in the habit of is when you get to this screen is go immediately to the details page. I want you to go in here and I want you to update the information on this page because this is the information that will pull and auto-populate across all the other documents inside of Docusign. Now, on the right-hand side, you're going to see participation information. So I've said I'm going to go ahead and do a buyer. So I don't have any seller details to put in here yet. So I'm going to have shrunk that down. I like to reduce them. And you can hit these little arrows that are going to reduce these. Oops. Somebody's mic is still on. Could you mute yourself, please? There we go. All right. So I came down to buyer. What you're going to see here, and this was a nice upgrade that happened a couple of weeks ago, was that once you have that information in your opportunity, their name, their contact information is pulling over to command. So you no longer have to do dual entry, and your information is pulling over as well. You'll see my name, my phone number, my email address, my office address. That's all pulled over. So that's a nice new feature that came in, I'm going to say a little over 2 weeks ago, that reduces the redundancy of some of the dual entry that we now have to do. Now, what also is pulled over is some of this information that I had put in the opportunity, which is not 100% correct. So you have to also monitor what's pulling in because it's taking in the budget that I put in and making it a contract amount and my expected closing date. So it's not my actual closing date. So this information is starting to pull as well. We're working on cleaning up the exactness of some of it, but pay attention to what's in there though. In order to edit this page, you can come right here and click edit. Come down. Now some of this required to close information. So we're working with a buyer, right? So you have to put the buyer's address in there. Always good to have their home address because that goes on their exclusive right for representation. And if it's for a listing, you put the listing address, and then when you go to write a contract, you can update the information for the property address. Not Illinois, we're in Virginia. There we go. All right. So once you're done filling out whatever information you want to fill in here, okay, you can click save. Now, after you've saved the details here, and again, as you go through the process, you may add more and more information. As you add information to the opportunity side, new information does not automatically pulls over. It's always going to pull over just the first time for now. It's not going to continue to load information from the opportunity, so you have to upload it here. So with that, I'm going to pause for a second and double check my chat room and see what questions we have so far. Right? That was all about not being able to see. Okay, we fixed that. Any questions on how we got here from the opportunity to Docusign and into the details room or filling out details in this room. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How does the detail, I know you have to type in the details information, but at the beginning it was populating by itself. So where does that information come from? Where do I input that information so that it gets into the detail area, like your name and...
It's going to know your name by your marketing profile from within Command, okay?
Oh, I see.
And your buyer or seller's information is pulling from the opportunity that you created, and that's pulling over into Docusign.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Okay, so after we've filled out our details, now we can go ahead and grab our documents. So we're going to go into our document room here. Mute everybody again. Please, after you do ask a question, please remember to mute yourself back up again. I appreciate you. All right, so from the add documents to room here, there's a plus button. You can add documents from your computer, which is going to be necessary as you get further into the transaction and you get PDFs and you're sharing documentation back and forth with the cooperating broker on the other side of the deal, right? They're going to email you something that you're going to need to countersign, and that's going to come into an email. So you're going to have to download and upload that via computer into the room for editing and signatures. Docusign is what we're going to utilize to go ahead and pull our documents and start from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and click Documents. I'm going to come into the Docusign Forms, and we'll see Docusign Forms Library, and we'll see Docusign Forms Group. Now we have separated our documents in our market center, okay, into categories. So there's buyers, sellers, landlords, listings, tenants, and then contracts. So we have split them up to get to the documents that you need at the particular time or type of transaction that you're utilizing. Now, this is done at the market center level. So again, what you might be seeing here may be slightly different than how we have things configured at our market center level. So I want to make that very clear. What your groups are probably going to be named and look different than what you're seeing from me, because those are market center controlled information. All right, so I said we were going to do a buyer. So we have our buyer consultation docs here first. So we go to buyers. Now we need all of these documents, so we select them all. But this is where our package together, exclusive right to represent, understanding our information, and understanding the information about our transaction. So I can go ahead and add those to the room. Now, if I want to add additional documents, give that a second to load up. I can go back into Docusign. Now, I can also grab documents directly from the Docusign library. Okay, by selecting MBAR. So that would open up the entire library of documents where I can search by a specific document that may have not been separated into the buyer, listings, contracts folders. So if you happen to be missing something, you can search through the entire MBR category right here. Now, if you are a member or do business in DC or Maryland, you have to belong to MAR and you have to belong to GCAR. So that's why I don't have access to those documents, because I do not. So you have to belong to those boards to have access to those documents. So I will redirect you back to your market center leadership or to those libraries those boards online where you can get access to the members to join them. Even though you have access to use those documents through reciprocity, in order to access those documents through Docusign, you have to belong to the board and pay their dues. I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but I'm just letting you know, for those of you that are licensed in DC and Maryland that need access to those documents, that's how you would see them within Docusign, because they are there, but you have to join that board. All right, so I don't need to add any additional documents here, but I do want to show you for our office, our bar is there as well. We have our office level docs, which is where we store okay, our ABA, and we also utilize the cybersecurity. Again, those are market center specific docs. If you've got an ABA, then they probably store them in an office type of folder that are being shared across your platform. Or you may have them individually where you can load them from your desktop. So just for training right now, I'm not going to utilize them, but this is for if your office has additional libraries, you would go under Docusign library, even though it's not a Docusign library, and then choose your office if your office has created one. It's important to understand if your office has created one. So I'm going ahead and cancel that out. All right, so I'm going to pause for a second about adding documents. Make sure. Oh, good. Somebody's showing a secondary membership. Thank you, Katie. For Mars, 150 a year. I imagine G-Cars out there as well. But again, a secondary membership. Thank you for sharing that. Any questions on grabbing those documents or knowing that you have bundles provided to you by your market center and the complete library offered to you from MVAR or VAR or G-Car or MAR? Okay, perfect. Moving along. So now you have these, what they call form documents inside of the folders, okay? Did I say that all signed documents come to email must be done to then uploaded? Not signed documents by your client. They'll stay within Docusign. All documents in communication with your co-broke, right? Just like they would through Dotloop, right? They're going to come to you in email. They're going to send you a PDF. Then you load those to Docusign. And then if you need to edit those, counter, strike, add initials, those will be done in here. But your client signature, anything your client send that you send to them will stay within this room. Hope that's clear. Okay, so you now have your forms that you loaded inside the room, okay? Now, what you can't do, let's do this. If I add a document, add from Docusign, let me just add an addendum because we use multiple addendums at times, right? So I'm just gonna go into group. I'm gonna go into contract, even though I'm doing a buyer right quick. I'm just going to load a contract folder because I want you to see something. Addendum to sale. I'm just going to add that. Now, what if I needed a second addendum? And I haven't filled out the first one yet, but I just want to show you something. See, I have an addendum for sale in here. Say I want to have a second addendum, and I would go back into Docusign, right? Folder, group, contracts. See, addendum to sale is already checked and I can't add it a second time. So you cannot add a second document that's already been loaded to the room. So documents are forms and forms are reusable. So you're going to see here, once we send things out and we look at documents with signatures on them, they become stamped, signatures get locked in and they become PDFs. If you need to create a second addendum, you're basically just going to rewrite over the old one. Right, that's a little bit different way that we used to do things because we could add additional versions and edit previous ones. But once we've created something, sent it out for signatures and locked it down, we can go back and edit the master document unlike we could before. So understanding that you can't have a secondary type of document in the form version. So that's a little bit of an adjustment for some people. Just understanding that process. Oh, there's the information in the chat room for G-Car. Thank you, Katie. All right, so now let's go in and fill out our exclusives right, or some of it. I'm not going to walk through the whole thing because it's not a contracts class and you guys understand how that works, what you're supposed to fill out on the documents. But let's just see if I click on one, what that looks like. So you'll see the information is, some of it is pulling across in here and some of it is not. You'll saw that on my detail page. I had my broker information in here, but it was not pulling into these cells. That's a known issue. Right now, you're just going to have to type that in, right? But at the bottom of the page under broker, that information should be there. See that pulled here. So we're not getting it in both spots yet. So that's a Docusign issue that we've reported to them. And there is, you will notice some mapping that doesn't work on all documents. So it is important for you to walk through and make sure that you edit everything and make sure everything is accurate. If you see something that I haven't pointed out that I know is already not mapping, it is okay to go ahead and send me an email and say, hey, I noticed this in Docusign, or not send me, sorry, send your Market Center tech trainer an email. Don't send them to me, there's 4,000 of you. Send them to your Market Center tech trainer so they can check the mapping, and if things need to be escalated for correction, we can certainly make arrangements to have that looked into. So you would just walk through your document, your buyer information, command training is what I call this particular buyer for lack of imagination, right? Then I would have my broker information in here. Right. I would have my address in here, the brokerage. I'm on the wrong line. You get the point there. Filling out the contract. Now, what you don't see, what that you saw previously on Dotloop was placeholders for their initials at the bottom of the page. You won't see that on these documents. That will come later when we go to affix the signatures for everybody. But right now, you won't see them at the bottom of your page, so don't think that you've done anything wrong here. Okay? Let's get a little bit of extra information in here. Doesn't really need anything more. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save and close this document. Just check for questions real quick. There's so many moving parts to Docusign. I want to make sure that I'm checking these pretty regularly. Not sure what you needed me to repeat there, Colin. Go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Of course, I just filled my mouth with almonds. So you were saying something about, I know it's focusing on a first grade classroom at the same time, but you're saying something about once the document is in there and you've completed it, is that correct? Then
Yes.
you, something about going back to a master document?
Yeah, so like this buyer broker agreement, and I pulled the addendum in here. Once you have added a document to a room, I can't add it a second time. I can reuse the document, but I can't add it again. So if I needed another addendum, I wouldn't go add another addendum, okay? Because MBAR only gives me one. Now, I do know that Maryland and DC, I think they have like 4 addendums in their folders. So that may vary by jurisdiction. But in MBAR, they just give you one addendum that you use over and over and over again.
Great. So this is actually perfect because I just ran into this morning.
All right.
We had an offer.
You were online to check it out.
So we had an offer we wrote already, was not accepted. We were writing a second offer.
Yep.
And there was a bunch of documents I could not add in because the other documents had been signed.
Right. So you would go back to the form, like the purchase contract, you would basically rewrite that purchase contract. And since you already had the other documents signed, they're locked in, they won't change. Like in the previous system, right, if you change the document, it would remove the signatures. This platform doesn't work this way. You're able to reuse the form, unless they've been signed, they're signed and they'll be stamped in green, okay?
Yep.
And those are only editable PDF-wise. They're not editable if I go in and change the form that you lose the signatures on them.
So what is the best practice for going in and writing a second offer?
I would create a new folder and use the same offer. All right, you're going to have to rewrite that offer contract on the one that was already created.
And just as a secondary question, so the one thing it also wouldn't let me do is edit or reload the like ABA disclosure, things like that. Is that the same thing? Like I'd have to go in and edit that document?
I haven't played. I'll be honest.
Anyway, I don't want to take you off your course.
Yeah. So in that particular case, they've already been signed. But yeah, you would edit those too because they're form documents for our office level, not the same for everybody. But our office, okay. Yes, you would go in there and change the names on the ABA, but you wouldn't need to redo the ABA.
Right. Right.
I think the confusion is between rooms and envelopes, maybe, David?
Haven't gotten there yet. but we'll get there and we'll explain that in more detail. Thanks you. That's a valid point. But we're going to go to envelopes next. But I want it to be clear that once forms are loaded, they can't be loaded again. All right. So now we're going to talk about getting signatures on a particular document. So we've now filled this out. Now, obviously, I haven't filled this out completely. So I'm going to go ahead and say I need to now, okay, get signatures on this document. All right, so I'm going to have to come back to this again. So there's a question. Editing basically creates a copy and result is multiple docs that we follow the dates. There could be a reason for multiple addenda. I agree. There is the ability to have multiple addenda. What I'm telling you is you don't once something's been signed, it's saved. And you use that form, that addendum form, for addendum 2 or addendum 3. And once they've been signed, the originals are always there. So you can overwrite them. Yeah.
I edit in opportunity and envelopes, I mean. That's
right.
where I edit the documents. I add things.
That's correct. In envelopes, you can edit, but sometimes you need to rewrite entire documents like the purchase contract, or you want to do an entire addendum for a different purpose. So that's where coming to utilizing the forms is clear. Yes, you edit PDFs inside of envelopes, which we're walking towards, but utilizing the forms can only be used once, and they can be only used once when they're signed, but the forms themselves are reusable, right? I can't add additional forms if the form has been loaded. If you're having trouble with that, we'll try to talk a little bit more about it at the end, or maybe you need to have a specific consultation with your market center tech trader just to kind of get used to the mindset around this. It's a different platform. I understand that. The flow is a little bit different. The master documents are a little bit different. So there's definitely an adjustment period for you guys. But once you write enough contracts, you've gone through this a couple of times, I think you'll get the hang of it. And that's what we're seeing in our offices. We've been utilizing these live since August. All right. So now I need to think about getting signatures on a particular document. So in order to get signatures, right, on this form, as I showed you, the buyer or the broker or the sellers, we're not stamping on that document at this particular time. So if I go ahead and I click the document, so you'll see they each have a circle at the top. Now I might need to send all of these. So I can simply click select all, right? But in this particular case, I'm just going to go ahead and select one. So then I have this secondary navigation bar pop up, which was not there when I have not chosen a document. So I've got a couple things I can do. I can copy a doc. I can move the doc to a folder. I can email directly to somebody. Now, I haven't got any signatures yet, so I'm not going to utilize this email button here. But if I was emailing, say, the cooperative broker or my title company or my lender, I could select any one of these documents and send them directly to them if they had been signed and they're ratified, right? In order to get signatures, I do have to create an envelope, right? So I use this Docusign pen right here. And when I click on that, it's going to open up what's called the envelope portion of Docusign. Now, it's similar for people that may have used e-signature before. The signing experience in here is similar to what you've done there. It opened up this envelope. And if you think of an envelope, just like I have to put something in the mail. In rooms, every time you send something out for signature, it creates a new envelope. So you will have one room, however, you will have multiple envelopes in each room. So every time I send a document out for signatures, it creates an envelope. You don't reuse the envelope. And it's important that at the top of the envelope, you name what the envelope is there to do. In this particular case, it's for buyer docs. So I want to name the envelope. If I don't change the name and then I try to go find an envelope that I sent and they all say the same thing, you're going to have some filtering issues trying to track down what it was that you were looking for. So it's always good and highly important that you name the envelope for what it is. Buyer broker docs, contract doc, addendum, addendum 2, addendum 3, whatever that looks like. Home inspection contingency removal form, HOA docs. Anything I'm sending out that's in this bundle, this is how it should be named. You see that it automatically pulled in the document that I wanted to send, right? If I had another document that I needed to be included and I forgot to select it, I could click on the room docs button and go in and pull one of these other documents into the room. See, I just quickly add another document, okay? Underneath that, it says add recipients. So when we're using the blue forms, which means we're typing into a Docusign document, I will have the ability to see pre-tagged roles. If I'm working on a PDF document, which essentially is just a photocopy, okay, where it's not going to be reading mapped fields, the pre-tagged role button won't exist. The pre-tagged role button only exists when we're editing a particular form, okay? So in this case, since we're using forms, I can select pre-tagged roles. And what it's going to do is going to open up the document and it's going to recognize, okay, I've got buyers that need to sign or could sign and a broker that could sign this particular document. So on the right-hand side from the drop-down, I'll see the people that need to sign. Okay, so buyer 1 is my command training person. So I select them and then automatically gets checked. Now at the bottom, I see broker. Now, this is another thing that you guys have to kind of get used to a little bit. In .loop, and again, this may change a little bit from Market Center to Market Center, but in .loop, we assigned everything to the broker, a generic email or admin, right? We did not assign it to our particular compliance broker, whether it was Steve or Shannon by name. We sent it to admin, which you actually see here. In this particular case, in this platform, we do need to assign it, okay, to our broker. Now, we don't see them as an available recipient here. So what we do is we check the box, we leave this blank, and it knows that I need a broker signature, and then I can add them. So I click Add Selected, and now I see that it defaulted to my command training person who needs to sign. And my buyer broker is now here, at least by it knows that that person will need to sign, but their name's not here. So I'll go ahead and add their name, okay? Now again, I'm going to use her just as our compliance broker. This is not you, right? So I would type in Shannon Lauderstein. Okay, and then I would put her email in here. This is not her email, just so you know. And you see it says needs to sign, and you see that they both say position 1. Well, I don't want my broker signing until after my client has signed, so I can change my broker to position 2. This is a really nice feature that was not in the previous platform. Right? I could have order of operations there. I could have a third person and a fourth person. If these were both buyers, say this was buyer 1 and buyer 2, just imagine for a second, I can have them sign at the same time if I have 2 different email addresses, okay? Now in .loop, I had to have different email addresses for every single person. Now that is the best practice and I highly encourage you to do that. So they can both sign at the same time. If you happen to have a husband and wife, significant other, however it looks like, that they only have 1 email address, they can also sign this way. However, important to note, if using the same email address for more than 1 person, they cannot sign at the same time. So you do need to add them as buyer 1, buyer 2 signing in 2 different steps so they can use the same email address. Now, if I just wanted to send this, again, this is my broker, but instead of having them sign, maybe I just wanted to send them a copy, I can change their administrative rights. Receives a copy. And this is where I might say, after I've ratified everything, I'm sending out one last signature. And once I get that signature, I want it to go to my lender. Well, I could add my lender's name and email address here and click receives a copy, right? Or if I needed it to, it was a countersign and I'm just getting one more signature, I wanted to go immediately back to the cooperative agent that I'm working with, I can send them to as they receives a copy. Don't use needs of view, just use receives a copy, because needs of view implies that they have to see it first before any other steps can take place. So just utilize receives a copy. I don't use access authentication or adding private messages at this time. Just things I don't utilize right now. So I'm not gonna, don't address to those. All right, so I'm just gonna leave this as needs to sign. Then below is the email that you would send to your particular clients. Fire docs. Hello, Mr. Trainer. Okay, now I'm preparing now the envelope, ready to go. The documents are in there. It knows who needs to sign, and I have an email that'll go when I do send it. And on the upper right-hand side, I have this next button. It's okay to hit next. Next does not mean I'm sending an email. Next means, okay, next means that I'm going to verify the document and affix the signatures and initials to where they need to be. So now this is opening up and essentially a PDF editor. That's what's happening here. Alicia mentioned earlier that she edits from within the envelope. And this is where I would do some minor editing if I didn't do a major rewrite or need to reuse a document. I can add, strike out, add text boxes directly from this screen. So you'll see that this is pulled in, and what I cannot edit are the fields. Right? I can't click on these to change their name or the address, or click and enter anything into these predefined fields because I'm looking at photocopy. Okay, that's what I'm seeing here. Now at the bottom, what I do see is that now I see where the buyer would sign and where the broker would sign. If there was another buyer, then that would drop in right here. So that's what I see here. Each of these pages tells me that multiple people need to sign these pages, and they are where they are supposed to have been signed. On the upper left-hand side, I see each person listed that would sign on this particular document. If I have a third person, they would be in a different dropdown and a different color. Okay. Before I mock this document up, I want to see if there's any questions in chat that how we got here, how we filled out that the previous envelope, how we selected people for signature, how we added people for signature. So any questions around that previous screen that led us to coming in here? Okay, love it. All right, so if I need to edit this document, if I need to strike out any changes, I can do so with the tools on the left-hand side. Okay, so let's pretend I needed to add a text box on here for some reason. Okay, just come back in here. Maybe it's a small modification. I realized one of these fields was missing, right? Just pretend, let's go down here. This, for some reason, I forgot to fill in this field, okay? I can add in a text box. So I can add that text box and I can enter information in here. Now, you see by clicking on this, nothing's happening, it just says text. But on the right-hand side, I've got an editing box, okay? So it says I can add text right here that will populate that cell. So I can just type in 10 days. You'll see that that popped up there. I've got a 4,000 character limit. So if I was writing in a notes field or something like that, it might be much longer. But I can add 10 and it populates right here into this field. Now, I don't want my client, so when it's shaded like this, and notice it's shaded in yellow because it's assigned to Mr. Training here, I don't need him to do anything with this box. In this box, anytime I add a box, will always be marked required field, and read only is not checked. I can't change these defaults. I want to uncheck that required field and I mark it as read only. That way, this client or anybody else can see this field, not edit it, okay? But it's now there for everybody to see. If I had left it as marked required, then it would prompt him to fill something in here that he doesn't need to do. And it would allow him to edit that field, which is not what I want him to do. And if I had anybody else sign in this document, they wouldn't see that this field was filled in if I had left it as required field. So best practice when you're filling out fields or adding things to the document that you want everybody to see and nobody needs to adjust or change, come over to the right-hand side, add your text, uncheck required field, and mark it as read only. That's an extra couple of steps, but that's something that you do need to understand and utilize. A couple other things that you can do to this particular document. So now that I've made this change, right, what has to happen? I have to add an initial. I can drag an initial over, okay? In this particular case, I can resize it, right? Now it's there, it knows that command training, Mr. Training is going to need to sign it. So it now knows that there's another spot that this person needs to sign, right? Now, if I had a secondary person like my broker, because I'm changing the main contract here, I could jump to that person and say, you know what, this person is also going to initial that change and drag that right over. Now, what's cool, if you notice here, that first initial that I dropped over here, I made a little bit smaller. When I added the second initial, it was smart enough to know that it made the same size. That's pretty cool, right? Now, I also know that a lot of you like to use checkboxes, right? How do I create crosshairs? So in our previous system, we couldn't do this. Now I can go this way. I can add lines. In this particular case, I might need all parties to sign. So I can add crosshairs that way. So again, let me just kind of show you what I did here. Come back here. From this main body here, there was no line, but there's a line. There's a pencil under markup tools right here. And that's where I get the line. And the line can be used for many reasons, right? Maybe I need to strike out this paragraph. Just strike out retainer. Just without having to cross out every line, I just exit out. And then I would add my initials, right? So check this out. So I can highlight both of those, Control C, Control V. Takes a little getting used to, but I can grab it and move it. And notice I grabbed that second set and left them together. Pretty cool, right? Check this out. So let's pretend I made a change to this paragraph here too. Let's just draw a line right here. And I needed those documents down there. If I hit Control Paste again, it'll actually paste the initials on that second page and put them in the exact same spot that it was previously. So I can either add them again or I can grab them, move them. Still get a little hang of grabbing the groupings. But that comes in really handy when I'm initialing at the bottom of every page. So if I copy and paste from one page to the next, it'll put the initial fields in the exact same spot as they were previously. Just a little troubleshooting tip for you there. So let's come back out. So now I'm done with the editing, I'm done with the linings. I can come back up to this markup tools box here. And I get this home page. So you see you've got other options here. I can use their name if I want to drop that in. I can text box where I can type things in. I can add check boxes, which you guys know you need the check boxes to utilize on certain pages for conveyances and things like that. So that's what all this editing is here. Let me just show you check. If I needed to add a checkbox like here, that will add there. Now I can't check in there, but on the right-hand side, I've got checkbox values. And if I click that and I check that box, you'll see that it's checked right there. But I'll do the same thing here. I will make sure that I will make that read only, right? So my client doesn't have to check that box. I want to pause. Just threw a lot at you. So I just kind of want to see where we're at. Questions. If I saw a missing field, wouldn't you just go back? Would you change it in that screen? If I just noticed that I had a single missing box, I would do it here because otherwise I'd have to go all the way back out of the envelope, back to the forms. Sorry about that. go back to the forms and re-edit all of those forms. I prefer to do small modifications that simply miss, to just come and do it here and then add the initial to make that change. That's just how I do it. If you don't like adding, you prefer it all to be crisp and clean, which I don't necessarily disagree, you could go all the way back out. Okay, if I hit back here, now don't panic. Everything that I've done on that page is going to stay there, even though I hit back. Okay, now I have this room. If I wanted to change this form, I actually need to go all the way out of this, okay, and go back and edit the form, and then I'd have to reload the form. I can't edit the form here because it's pulling it into essentially like a different part of the platform. So if I was going to make major changes, I might remove the document from the envelope, go all the way out to the main page, make the edits that I missed. Maybe I skipped a whole page worth of information, and then reload it to this envelope, and then go back into the page. That would send right before I send things out. So see, all the changes I made are still here. Just wanted you to not freak that if you leave this page, that when you back out, that things will disappear. All right. I use Control C and Control V, not Control B. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. That's correct. And if you're utilizing Apple, that would be Command C and Command V. All right, so now if I were to hit send now, this document's gone. This now will actually be sent. Now I used bogus email, so it's not going to go and receive to anybody on anybody's side. But I just want you to see what it looks like once an envelope's been sent. So here's an envelope. It says that it's waiting on others now. Okay, I can see where it's at, what's going on. Now, if nothing's been signed yet, I could actually go in and click and correct and add documents, or I could actually go in and edit the signing fields. Like if I realize I made a mistake, I can go ahead and mock up and make any additional changes that I need to. And it will bring me right back here. However, if it's been signed, then I can't edit that document because it's already been signed. So I would have to, in that case, I would just kind of let the process go through and then maybe edit it and send it back out again for signature. All right. So now I'm just going to go back to my home screen, go back to my dashboard. So documents have been sent out. Now this one's not going to end up getting signed because I used bogus information on it. I didn't actually use a signable, which I probably had a little forethought. I might actually send it to a signable email address. So sorry about that. Oh, shoot. I hit stop screen. Didn't mean to do that. So let me bring it back up. Okay, should be back on my screen now. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so this is my dashboard. So from my dashboard, I can go into different things, right? I can go to my rooms. I can go to my most recently. I can look at my new rooms, right? I can look at buyer activity, who's been signed, what's out. You see I've got a lot of stuff that's out, right? If I needed to void a room or avoid something that's been out for signatures because it's completely wrong and I need to start over, I can actually go into the envelope itself and void it, okay? There is a, just go into this is the one I was working on, training buyer here. So if I just go in there, you see there's an envelope tab right here. So if I were to go into the envelope, I could actually click on this envelope and I could actually void it. Or I could resend it, right? If I had need to resend it, sometimes we have a need that we have to resend things. We know that that happens, right? So now I have a voided envelope here inside of the room. And as I mentioned, we would have multiple envelopes in a particular room. Now you also see people. right? So you see admin, you see yourself, people that, if I have a TC that I utilize that's on my office roster, again, has to be a licensed person on the office roster. I can invite them to participate into my room here, and they can edit and create things and send things out. They can't edit documents that I created, but they could create new documents and send and share. So just a little bit of a workaround for TC, that they can be added to a room as a person, but they have to be licensed and on your roster inside of Docusign. I can't add a virtual assistant to access and edit documents. So I'm going to put that out there. Only you can access, or a rostered agent that has a license can be added to the roster. So that's how they act there. As I work through the documents, I can add additional documents here, right? I can add from my computer. Just grab, I don't have a whole lot because I'm not utilizing a whole lot of production here. Let me just go to a file that I have open here for somebody else. I'm gonna go to my rooms real quick. I want you to see inside of a different room. All right. So here's a room for a evolving contract. You'll see multiple versions of documents in here, right? We've got our forms in here. Here's a perfect example of a form that was utilized, okay? And then here's a signed version of that document. And if it's been signed by multiple persons, it'll be say signed, which means buyer one signed it, and then buyer two signed it. So that's how we're looking at from creation to signature to complete signature. So the difference is here we see a form document, which is what we started with. Then we have a signed document. Now you're also going to see certification pages. So certifications is every time you have somebody sign something, you're going to get a certification, which gets a little bit messy. So I like to move those around and I'll add them to another folder. So that's one thing I don't like, is that we get all of these, so it kind of clutters it up a little bit. But you can see here, some are stamped PDF, right? That means I was uploaded as a PDF, added document from my computer, added as a PDF, right? Scanned and brought in. I can filter out by name, oldest and newest. I can show active documents or archive documents, because if I check on a document, like, so let's go here and let's just go ahead and select a couple of these certifications, because I don't need to, shoot. If I click on the doc, it'll open itself up. But if I click on the circle, okay, then I now have the ability to archive a document, which means it'll make it disappear from the active screen and it'll be on the hidden screen, right? So I click all documents, then I'll see everything, or I could actually filter out across and just show me archive documents or all documents. Just like we could on our previous system, we could archive documents. All right. You can create multiple folders here. So under actions, I can click add a folder. Maybe I'm going to separate the different offers that I made within a room. So if I made one offer and it didn't accept it, then I had to create a second offer to get it. Then I can move documents between folders. You're always going to have your rooms doc, which will be original. And then you can have an offer 2 or offer 3 or offer 4. Okay, I can close the view and I can bounce back and forth. And I can move documents to different folders.
David?
Yeah.
So when you're doing that and you're doing a second offer, you go into folder 1 and take the documents and move them into folder 2, and then you edit it to make it a new offer?
Perfect. Yes. I would go in and grab that form. If I needed to grab the purchase contract, I would drag that. I can move that purchase contract, bring it into offer 2, clear it out, and fill it in that I would need for offer 2.
Perfect. Thank you.
You got it. Okay, I'm not going to get into compliance today as far as moving these back into command. We're going to cover that on Wednesday. okay? But I want to just I wanted to take you through the whole process of creating the opportunity, creating the room, linking the room and the opportunity together, okay? Creating a document, sending it out, right, via envelopes, understanding the difference between a form, a signed document, okay, and a PDF document, and that I can edit anything I need to from within the room and then add additional signatures. Now, I ran the full hour because this is a hard class to do in a 1 hour's time, but I want to make sure that you guys got all of that. I do recommend that you go through, if you hadn't utilized the system before, create some test cases, maybe share some offers back and forth with each other that you're friendly with, play around with some of the different settings and see what it looks like to be emailing and sending documents. One thing I didn't show you in the room is that you can actually see the, at the top, there's a view button inside of the envelope. Just, I don't have any open right there. You could actually look at it. What would it look like if they saw it on their cell? What would they look like if they had it on their tablet? Because they could actually, within the, from those devices, sign initials and documents in there. So let's see what we have for questions here. They're starting to back up on me a little bit here. Okay, let me just back up. Yep. As far as if there's any form related mapping issues that isn't working, I do recommend you take that up with your MCTT, and they have the process of how they can submit any documents that need to be corrected. Because I mentioned there is some mapping issues out there for that. Helpful, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'll have the replay up at some point today, later today. This will be posted on the Facebook group, so that always record those and get those out there. Second folder, sure. So in the documents section, under actions, in the upper right, there's a add folder button right here. So that's how you get to that second folder. Is access to Docusign from within only available in particular market centers? Every market center that I'm not gonna say, I don't know if every market center has turned on Docusign yet. I believe most of them have. If your market center is not yet utilizing Docusign, talk to your leadership, and then that leadership or that market center tech trainer can talk to me about transitioning. I do believe maybe a couple still might be utilizing .loop. But if that's the case, you know, check in-house to get clarification there. I don't have a full list as to everybody that's transitioned over at this point. I do know that this is one of those things that, you know, is going to take some time. It's a different process than we did.
John?
It is a little bit different than we did in
I'm good.
Can you turn off your mic, please? And go ahead and have a conversation with John. Thanks.
Yes. And I am trying to get that. And the way I do it is
Okay, so I went ahead and muted that person, not a problem. Mistakes happen, right? We're all learning our Zoom. We've been doing enough Zoom training, and everybody should be able to teach Zoom at some point by the time this is all over. If you guys have questions, go ahead and unmute yourself. I'll stick around for a little bit, but that's about as far as I wanted to take you guys. Otherwise, I think I'm going to reach essentially overload. We'll get back into this again on Wednesday about moving docs from this folder and into the compliance folder and about how that looks like for you. So that'll be, again, Shannon will be walking through all that for everybody.
David,
Yes, ma'am.
if you are editing a document that's already been sent to a client, but before they've signed, can they tell that you've edited it? I mean, like, do they get some kind of other notification, or can you quickly make a change like, oh, shoot, I forgot to make this, without having to go through giving them an explanation and everything? I mean,
yeah. So if you went back into the envelope and then I'll go back. Oh, I deleted the one that I had. But if you had gone back into the envelope I don't have any active envelopes there. And you clicked correct, and you make a change before they see it, it'll just be another place for them to sign.
All right. Thanks.
Of course. Once the contract is coming back from the seller, I need to make changes, adding initials. How's that part done? Okay. So the envelope is the same no matter if you're utilizing the form or PDF. So like in this particular folder, okay, I'm just going to grab a PDF here. So you're going to see all your documents, and after it's been signed, it'll be stamped signed just like this. Okay. Now I'm just going to use this addendum that's been used in this particular document. Oh, sorry, close. I'll select that document because it say I need to counter that document, right? I'll go ahead and select, go back into the envelope here. Now remember, this is now a document that's not a form, so I don't see the pre-tagged roles, but I can choose from room participants now, right? And I can drag anybody from this list, okay, and add them to the document that I need them to be an initial or sign something. I need to be very careful here because this is somebody's document and I don't want to mess with them. But I'm just going to add selected. So I added that person, right? They're added. I would click next again. It'll open up that document in the envelope. I can edit anything that I need to on here by adding initials, right? Or striking out context. Right? Or adding a text box. Now remember, if I add a text box, what I'm going to do, I'm going to uncheck it and check it read only, maybe put into, hey, this is our new price of 600 or whatever our counter was going to be, right? And then I would hit this send button up here, which I am not going to do. I actually need to get out of here before I make a mistake. But that's how you would edit a PDF document that's gone back and forth or needs to have additional rounds of editing and countering. And you see here, I'm deleting this envelope. So you guys could actually delete an envelope if you created one as a test case and you didn't want to send one out accidentally. So you would go in, you would grab that document, you would create a new envelope, add that document to it, strike it up, mark it up for any counters that needed to take place, and then send it out for signatures again. Bye, Virginia Beach. All right. Anybody else? We doing okay? Yeah, I'll have this recorded and posted later today. I'll post it in the Facebook group. Maybe we'll look and we'll do a more detailed advanced Docusign in a week from now or something. After we get through Docusign and compliance, maybe we'll dive back into this. I think we're gonna have a little bit of time over the next couple of weeks to review a couple of things. All right, pushing 11:10. My numbers are starting to dwindle because I know people have to move on to other things. So is everybody okay then? I'm going to go ahead and shut us down for today. Thank you all for joining me. Again, I applaud you for getting on each day and learning with us. So have a great day. If you need anything, like I said, touch base with your market center tech trainers. They are very informed and very skilled on a lot of these things. So they can help you guys out for a lot of things as well. Always use our KW regional tech page for additional questions or help and support as well. So take care, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing campaigns. So we got Kyle Holleran coming in to do us and showing us how to publish and advertise and market social media posts. That's what we'll be covering tomorrow at 10. And then Wednesday, we'll dive back into Command, Docusign, and compliance. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, David.
Of course.